the pastor of Ik and the secret of the forest. Once upon a time, in the lively town of Ik, there lived a pastor named Emma. Known far and wide for his miraculous healing powers, everyone in Ik respected and adored him, believing the power of God flowed through him. But what they didn't know was that Pastor Emma wasn't exactly who he seemed. Driven by greed, he had turned his back on true faith and secretly sought powers from dark, hidden realms. Yet this life was not what his parents had envisioned for him. Emma had been raised in a devout Christian family. His father, Mr. Matthew, was a deeply committed pastor, while his mother, a deaconess, instilled strong Christian values in him from childhood. They'd named him Emma, and he grew up as a devoted young boy, following his father's footsteps in ministry. From a young age, Emma served as a youth leader, often preaching with zeal to his friends and congregation. His community admired his righteous nature, and many called him the young preacher. He vowed to continue his father's work, dreaming of leading his own ministry one day. When Emma turned 22, he decided to establish his church. His father blessed his ambitions, and after intense prayer, Emma moved to the bustling city of Ik, hoping to find a space for his ministry. Arriving in Ik late at night, Emma found the affordable hotels fully booked. As he wandered the streets, he encountered Zoba, a cab driver who took pity on him and offered him a place to stay. Their friendship blossomed, with Zoba showing Emma around the city. Through Zoba, Emma learned of a renowned local pastor, Pastor Noso, known for his powerful miracles that drew crowds from near and far. Emma found a small hall to rent and started his ministry, though his congregation grew slowly. His members were few but dedicated. Despite his satisfaction with his small group, he couldn't shake a growing sense of frustration. One day, overhearing townspeople discussing Pastor Noso's fame and wealth, Emma's mind began to wander, curiosity mixing with envy. Emma visited Pastor Noso's massive church, surprised to see him preach a brief message about wealth and prosperity, in stark contrast to Emma's sermons of salvation and devotion. Watching the enthusiastic crowd and the wealth Pastor Noso amassed, Emma felt his ambitions grow darker. One evening, after another disappointing service, Emma confided in Zoba about his frustrations. Zoba, sympathetic to Emma's struggles, suggested he meet a man named Baba Ike, a powerful seer known for his spiritual knowledge. Baba Ike was rumored to have helped many pastors achieve success. Torn between curiosity and apprehension, Emma agreed to meet him. When Baba Ike finally met with Emma and Zoba, he spoke of mysterious rituals and powers beyond comprehension. Producing a container filled with a dark substance, Baba Ike described how Emma could gain powers to perform miracles, heal the sick, and grow his congregation. Despite his religious upbringing, Emma found himself captivated. Baba Ike told Emma of a place beyond the human realm, accessible only to those who truly sought its powers. Eager and desperate, Emma agreed to journey there. On a moonless night, Baba Ike led Emma and Zoba to the forest. The dark woods transformed into an otherworldly realm, where trees had faces and branches whispered secrets. Heart-pounding, Emma tried to ignore the warnings in his mind as they approached the towering temple. Inside the temple, an eerie figure appeared, the guardian of Lulu, the 24th master of the forest. Baba Ike explained that the guardian would bestow upon Emma powers of prophecy, healing, and charisma. But there was a price. The guardian gave Emma a vial and instructed him to sprinkle its contents in his church. Those who entered would remain devoted to him, drawn to him by an inexplicable force. He handed Emma a second vial, telling him it would grant him the gift of visions and the power to heal, but with the caveat that no miracle performed would last. Emma accepted without hesitation. Emma returned to Ik, and soon, his church began to overflow. Word of his miraculous healing spread, and people came in droves, enchanted by his newfound abilities. With each passing week, his wealth and fame grew. Months passed, and Emma was living the life he had once only dreamed of. He acquired luxurious cars, fine clothes, and security guards. Yet, despite his outward success, a darkness loomed over him. The guardian's words echoed in his mind, "The power comes at a price." In his quest for more influence, Emma proposed to Casey, a beautiful and respected choir leader in his church. Their lavish wedding was the talk of Ik, elevating Emma's status in the community even more. One day, a woman named Grace, a devout Christian, joined Emma's church. She admired Emma's apparent devotion and became deeply involved in church activities, unaware of the true source of his powers. However, at the next ritual meeting with the guardian, Lulu selected Grace as a sacrifice. She soon fell mysteriously ill, and despite numerous hospital visits, no doctor could diagnose her condition. Emma, haunted by guilt and bound to his agreement, could do nothing. As Grace's health declined, whispers spread through the church. People questioned the misfortune that had befallen such a devout member. Yet Emma knew he had set things into motion that he could never reverse. The reality of his choices weighed on Emma, but his greed kept him bound. Would he sacrifice yet another soul to maintain his powers, or would he find the strength to turn back? As he wrestled with these thoughts, the world around him began to crumble. Weeks passed, and Grace's health worsened. She barely managed to make it to church, and her once vibrant presence faded. The congregation was concerned, but Emma put on a convincing show, praying fervently for her recovery. His heart raced each time he laid hands on her, knowing he was the reason for her suffering. Yet, bound by his agreement with the guardian of Lulu, he continued his charade, hoping no one would suspect the truth. The end of the month approached, and with it, the ritual gathering in the dark forest. Emma, struggling with guilt but driven by fear of losing his powers, once again used the chalk to open the portal. As he stepped through, he was greeted by the familiar, chilling sight of towering trees with twisted faces and the red-hued sky above. This time, however, an unusual dread filled his heart. At the gathering, the guardian of Lulu stood waiting. The air was thick with an ominous silence, and as Emma joined the other men of influence, pastors, politicians, and businessmen, he felt a strange tension. Lulu's voice echoed through the temple as he announced that another member from Emma's church would soon be sacrificed to sustain his powers. Emma clenched his fists, feeling trapped yet too afraid to defy the powerful deity. Back in Ik, Grace's family grew increasingly desperate. They sought other churches and pastors, hoping someone could cure her. Rumors spread that Emma's church was cursed, and some of his members left, fearing they too would suffer if they stayed. Emma realized that his influence was slipping, his congregation shrinking for the first time since he gained his powers. Meanwhile, Zoba, Emma's closest confidant, began to worry about the consequences of their pact with the guardian. Seeing Grace's condition deteriorate, he questioned whether they had gone too far. Zoba tried talking to Emma, suggesting they find a way out of the deal, but Emma brushed off his concerns, dismissing Zoba's fears as weakness. Emma went on preaching and performing his miracles, each act of healing drawing new followers, but his heart grew colder. He found himself haunted by visions of the faces he had seen in the dark forest, their eyes hollow and accusing. Each miracle felt emptier, each sermon more hollow. And still, he knew he could not stop. One day, Grace managed to pull herself to Emma's office, desperate and frail. She begged him to pray for her, tears streaming down her face as she asked why God had forsaken her. Emma stared at her, guilt and shame filling his heart, but he forced himself to stay calm. He placed a hand on her shoulder, reciting empty words of comfort he no longer believed. That night, as he lay in bed beside Casey, he found himself unable to sleep. Casey noticed his restlessness and asked what was troubling him. For the first time, Emma wanted to tell someone about his pact with the guardian. Yet, fear and pride held him back. He told Casey he was just exhausted from his duties as a pastor. Casey, unaware of the dark secrets weighing on him, kissed his forehead and fell back asleep. As the next month approached, Emma's mind was in turmoil. He knew another sacrifice would be demanded, and he feared it would be another devoted member of his church. He struggled to decide whether he could bear to continue. His hands shook as he thought of Grace, knowing she was barely clinging to life. When he arrived at the next ritual meeting, the guardian of Lulu seemed to sense Emma's hesitation. "Have you begun to question our deal?" Lulu's deep voice echoed through the temple. Emma swallowed hard, trying to muster his courage. The guardian's stare was piercing, and Emma felt as though Lulu could see every doubt and fear hidden within his heart. Emma stammered, "I'm just concerned that the sacrifices might draw too much attention." Lulu let out a low, mocking laugh. A deal is a deal, Pastor Emma. You wanted power, and now you must pay the price. If you refuse, I will take back everything, and you will return to nothing. Emma felt a cold sweat break across his forehead. He nodded in silent agreement, knowing he was trapped. Back at church, Grace's condition took a turn for the worse. Her family gathered around her, and some of the members began to pray in her home, hoping for a miracle. News of her suffering spread through it, and whispers of Emma's true nature began to circulate. Despite the rumors, Emma continued with his ministry, trying to ignore the growing unease in his heart. Days later, a strange old woman visited Emma's church. She seemed to know more about him than any stranger should. After the service, she approached him, looking directly into his eyes. "Pastor Emma," she said in a low, firm voice, "there is a price that no amount of power is worth." Emma felt his stomach drop as she walked away, her words lingering in his mind like an omen. The woman's visit unsettled him, but he was too afraid to confront the guardian of Lulu or break his pact. Instead, he poured himself deeper into his church work, his sermons growing more impassioned as he tried to drown out his fears. He spent hours praying, though he no longer felt any true connection to the God he once served. One evening, Zoba confessed to Emma that he could no longer bear the burden of what they had done. "Emma," he said, "this darkness, it's too much. I'm afraid of what will happen to us." Emma scoffed, hiding his own fears. "There is no turning back now, Zoba. We've come too far." But deep inside, he shared his friend's unease. As the month neared its end, Emma grew increasingly paranoid. He feared that Lulu might take more than he was willing to give. The night before the ritual, he prayed, asking for a sign, but the only answer was silence. His faith was a hollow shell, and the power he once craved now felt like a curse. At the ritual, Lulu demanded yet another life. Emma felt his heart sink as he realized the cycle would never end. Sacrifices would continue, lives would be lost, and his soul was already deeply entangled in darkness. The faces of the past sacrifices seemed to haunt him, each one an accusation, each one a reminder of the price he paid for power. As he left the temple, he noticed a strange reflection in the portal's edge, a glimpse of himself, but different. He looked hollow, worn, and lifeless. For the first time, he wondered if he had truly gained anything of value from the deal he had struck. Returning to Ik, he faced his congregation with a heavy heart. As he delivered his sermon, he saw Grace's empty seat, a painful reminder of his guilt. He could no longer escape the feeling that his soul was slipping away with each passing day. One night, tormented by nightmares, Emma finally broke down. He prayed for forgiveness, realizing he had lost everything that truly mattered. His fame, his wealth, and his influence felt empty, each a hollow echo of the life he once dreamed of. The words of the old woman echoed in his mind, a painful truth he had ignored. He woke the next morning, weary but determined. He knew he couldn't undo the past, but he could choose a different future. Emma packed a small bag and left the church quietly, leaving behind everything he had built. The fame, the power, the deceit, all of it was a burden he could no longer carry. Emma returned to the small village where he had once preached with a pure heart. He found solace in the simplicity of life, away from the temptations of power and wealth. In time, he realized that true faith was never about fame or fortune but about compassion, humility, and kindness. And though he could never erase the past, he found a fragile peace in living honestly once more.
I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, comment, share it with your family and friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.